It would be uncharitable of me to come onto a video and say, thank the Lord, another Coronation Street character's been axed. It would be uncharitable of me, but I did already do it with Billy Mayhew, and another one is gone. Coronation Street star quit after 2 years, and his final scenes have already aired. So, just the article, this is reported in The Sun, but, you know, The Sun, as, you know, opinions that people may have about The Sun, they do typically have all the soap news on tap. So, let's just read through and I'll give my thoughts on it very quickly. Coronation Street star Jack Carroll has quietly quit the show after 2 years. Actor and comedian Jack, 26, who lives with cerebral palsy, joined the soap back in October 2023 as Bobby Crawford, the secret son of killer Rob Donovan and nephew of Carla Connor. Jack has quit Coronation Street after 18 months. Bosses made a big deal of his casting, with Jack saying at the time, "I'm delighted to be playing a part in the cultural institution that is Coronation Street. I hope Bobby brings viewers a lot of laughs in the vein of some of the street's classic comedy characters." But The Sun can reveal that Jack filmed his final scenes back in March, with his Loki exit airing on screen last month as the storyline came to a natural end. In scenes that played out on the 12th of May, Bobby decided to fly out to Spain for a last-minute holiday after close friend Lauren Bolton accused him of being her blackmailer. He told his aunt Carla, actress Alison King, that he would be joining Simon Barlow on his travels. Simon Barlow actor Alex Bain was also axed by bosses and left the soap last year. Corey's source said, "Jack has loved his time on the cobbles, but it came to a natural end now. He did 18 months on the street and loved every minute of it. His exit is very low-key, and even the viewers didn't realise his last-minute holiday would be a permanent move. Jack wanted to go quietly and not make a fuss. The door is very much open for him to return in future storyline." So, yeah. I don't think anybody's going to be too upset with this one. I won't lie. I don't think anyone is really that much of an upset here, because I don't know why I'm struggling to... He wasn't a good character at all, in the slightest. He never really seemed to fit. They wanted to make him a big part, so they introduced him and then introduced him to, like, open up Carla's family and have another person to kind of be around with. So you would expect you had big scenes with Roy, big scenes with Carla, big scenes with Ryan, big scenes with Simon. So, you know, actors that you can typically bounce off. And then they initially went a direction where they were going to make Bobby and Lauren a thing. But once they started to show Lauren having bruises on her arm, they kind of quickly realized that Bobby's not actually a really good actor. And I don't think, you know, comedian, you know, on his Britain's Got Talent stuff, sure. Actor, no. He is not a very talented actor whatsoever. And even if he wasn't, he really struggled with the script that he was given. And considering most of the scripts he was given were very run-of-the-mill, very simple, not too deep scripts, it was kind of a... I mean, you would have expected that his kind of like comedy background would have benefited him to flourish in comedy, right? You would have expected his... Because, you know, he was on Britain's Got Talent as a comedian. He made that James Bond joke. I remember. I think most of us remember. And you would expect that the jokes would lend to Bobby as a character. But the main issue is he lacked the on-screen presence to deliver the comedy. And, like, you know, comedy on soap is quite hard, and comedy in general is a difficult, like, skill to master. So it's not, like, too much of a shame to suggest that they did struggle to do it. But, like, you would have at least hoped that they would have had something to fall back on. If he's not a good character actor, maybe he can be a good comedy actor. If he's not a very good serious actor, maybe he can be really good at being a down-to-earth character. But when you take someone who's not traditionally an actor and you put them into that role, you do tend to struggle. And it's not for lack of trying, as he did he did proceed to do a fairly good job. I don't even know where I'm trying to go with this one. I'm trying to be generous with this, but like simply saying, I think he's lucky to have had 18 months. And I think the fact that they've said he can return anytime he wants, and the fact that he himself went, I'd rather just go quietly, kind of means that everybody collectively realized, like, oh, you know, the contract's coming up now, you're coming up to 2 years, we're not renewing your contract. And some actors like to go before they're pushed. So I think it's a shame in a way, because they did kind of build it up to be a really exciting thing. Like, I remember talking about it, I think it was at the end of 2023. It said he joined in like October 2023, but I remember like talking about it and saying, first I was saying that like Lauren's going to be in a big storyline, and Bobby was going to be in this really big storyline. But also in the same way that first I did the prediction that Lauren was going to be like groomed by Nathan Curtis, which wasn't entirely true, because it ended up being Joel. And it seemed like they made a big thing saying Bobby's going to have a really big storyline this year, and it's going to be really big for the character. And as I said earlier, that was his relationship with Lauren into what was going to be her, like, death, and going from there. But, as we kind of said, they teased thinking about doing it, but also never really did. Like, he had some of the scenes, but it just never really worked. He didn't really have good scenes with Rob, but then again, Rob didn't really have good scenes with anyone. He didn't really show any real love with Carla, and, you know, she is a fantastic actress and she can act her fucking socks off. So, yeah, I don't think fans are going to be too upset with this one. I think fans have been calling for his exit pretty much any time they actually could. But, I don't know. They just kind of struggle to really grapple with it. So, yeah, it's sad. It was sad, but, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that they're cutting their losses. If we've seen anything from Kate Brooks, we've seen that she is willing to pivot from early plans. And I think there's a lot of really kind of fun, intriguing ideas. But, like, yeah, it's sorry, unsurprisingly, that much to say about Bobby. But I still think it's a kind of fun thing in itself. And yeah, sorry, I got distracted. Yeah, Kate Brooks is more than willing to use like short-term things and, you know, pack it up if it's not working. And I think that's a admirable quality in executive producer. It's the kind of weird thing, right? Where I've only recently had this revelation where I've been thinking about Chris Clenshaw's EastEnders. And maybe this doesn't apply to you, but like, and this, I suppose this can apply to Coronation Street as well. Where I never really understood why people were very anti, like, newer characters, like, carrying the show. Like, and, you know, you can say this with characters like Kit Green and Lisa Swain in this version of Coronation Street. Sorry, adjusting mic. You can say that with these sorts of characters in Coronation Street. I respect that. But then it kind of dawned on me where it's like, you have these characters who are institutions of the shows, but you don't use them. Like, I understand the selection, right? Well, yeah, sure, you want new characters to be established and developed, but you don't want it to be entirely new characters in its own right, because then the show looks unrecognizable with what it is before. Like, Kat Slater, in this previous iteration of EastEnders, was never really depicted well. Neither was Sharon, neither was Phil to the end, neither was Ian. A lot of these, like, characters who are staples of the program just weren't treated with much respect and weren't given the big storylines, which you can understand in one sense, but also a long-time fan could look at these new characters and they just don't buy in. I think Bobby was one of the characters that nobody bought into. And I'm glad that Kate Brooks decided it was time. Because, look, credit to him. Did 18 months. 18 months on a soap. It's more than a lot of people get. And I don't think he'll ever be back, fundamentally, unless he actually becomes like a talented actor. But let's be honest, he's probably not honing his craft, is he? So, yeah, there we are. What do you think about Bobby's exit? Tell me in the comment section down below. It's 30 degrees. I've been Ash from Watching Walford. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.